Hello, all, and welcome back to Voices of the Devils. We have come back after one entire season, but let's
Exactly.
see
I'm
how it
thinking
goes.
for real, like when was the last time we actually did one of these? It's like when Rangnick got
It
confirmed,
was
right? Or something
during
like that.
Euros or like a start of the last season.
Maybe. It's been way too long,
Okay,
huh?
okay,
But
okay,
let's get cracking. We're finally back.
okay.
And we're hoping to get this regular once again. So
Yes,
fingers
yes, yes. And the summer is about to end, and the break is almost ending, and game week one is done. We'll talk about that later. But come back to the first point, that is the transfers of the window. So, Roshan, what are your thoughts about this currently? The current situation, the FDJ saga, the Frenkie de
yeah,
Jong thing.
like obviously we've had Tara Malaysia, Christian Eriksen, Lisandro Martinez all come in and they've all been, they've all added their specific things entirely. But we've wanted players in important positions for a while now. One of them is obviously the holding midfield, deep midfield or holding midfield or whatever you like to call it. And it's been talked about for a long, long time that Erik Ten Hag sees Frenkie de Jong as the main player that he wants in that
Yeah,
position. So all like ever since the window started, it's been Frenkie de Jong. Even while completing all these transfers, we've been thinking Frenkie's gonna get confirmed soon enough because we've gone from initial inquiries to the fee structure. Even that's been agreed. The 65 plus 20 that was talked about by Ornstein later modified to bump up and increase 10 million euros. So we know that the 75 plus 10 million fee structure is there for Frenkie as per Ornstein, but obviously because of Barcelona's situation, it's nothing to do with us. It's nothing to do with even Chelsea either, because they've been rumored to come in. They've
yeah,
been rumored to match everything. And
yeah,
also, it's purely because of Barcelona and their wage structure and how they're trying to resolve the deferred wages situation in and also their legal and everything. It's all down to Barcelona at this point, but it's still like there is still a cause for I'd say cautious optimism, obviously because of how much time it's taken.
yeah,
But recently, we've got to know that they've actually registered a lot of their players, Barcelona. So
yeah,
they've basically activated enough levers. They've sold enough of their. They've basically mortgaged enough of their assets. Like
yeah,
they've gone through four levers so far,
yeah.
including half of Barcelona studios to be sold for the next 25 years or some shit like that. But the main thing is, they've been able to register Rafinha, Lewandowski, I think
Kessie as well as Christensen.
Kessie, Kessie and Christensen. Yeah, so they're the four players they've been able to register
I
right now.
guess
Jules
Kunde
Koundé
is
needs to
the
be
only
done.
player who is yet to be get registered in there.
Yeah, Koundé who already got signed, and they also want to wrap up Marcos Alonso as well. So
Yep, yep,
all of that needs to be done as well. They need to free up the salary mass, and that is where Frenkie de Jong comes in again.
yep.
That is where Frenkie comes in again because he's also on like plus 400k in euro
It's not
salary. So
only
that
like he's the pivot of the midfield, but he's the pivot of the transfer market as well. There,
he is absolutely the pivot of the transfer market. Like Barcelona they've sold enough assets to make it happen, but if Frankie stays, then they don't get Koundé, they don't get Alonso. That's kind of how I see it at this
yeah.
point. But yeah, it's literally just been a
And
waiting game.
also like the deeper thing is going around, but let's not talk about it. But yeah, it's somewhat. It's also going to hamper the things.
As in the alternative options
Yep,
that we could have
yep,
had, right? Yeah,
yep,
because with all this chase of Frankie De Jong, right, we've lost out on a couple of brilliant players. You
yep,
know, like they weren't rumored to join us or whatever, but they could have been really good options. For example, Joao Palhinha from
yeah,
Sporting, he went to Fulham. Ibrahim Sangare, Tifo Football, love talking about this guy. Every sensible transfers video, he is the main person. He renewed his contract, and we've missed out on like these are the two main guys, but obviously there are a couple of other options we missed out on as well. But
yep,
Erik is certain, dead certain, that he wants Frenkie de Jong to be the guy, and the board have basically deferred a lot of the transfer responsibility to him at this point. That's why Malaysia was the first signing. That's
yep,
why,
yep,
and that's why for the midfield, De Jong is the main guy, and they're trying everything to do it
yep, yep.
until we have another midfielder being rumored to come in. Not just being rumored though, but
The Turin
you know,
guy, Adrian
John
Rabiot.
Murd- John Murder has even flown over to Turin. He's even flown back, to try and persuade Adrian Rabiot's mother, who is obviously his agent. But obviously, that sort of persuasion for a guy like him to come in, you have to wonder, like, is it really worth it?
Yeah, yep.
Because how good has he been recently, and how much faith does Erik have in him personally? Because obviously the news, like the news, basically says that Erik wants him, but how much of that is actually Erik, and how much of that is the board trying to save face? Like, what do you think?
Yep. So if you talk about Adrian Rabiot, so if you see our current midfield, so that is McFred. So if you give me an option of Rabiot over these two, I'll definitely take it with the pricing what he's coming for. There is a factor like Juventus were about to release him and the stuff going around behind the scenes. And then Manchester United pops in for the bid, and they are giving around 15 to 17 million pounds is what is being rumored around. But
Yeah, exactly. Juventus would take
yeah,
that
yeah,
with both
absolutely.
hands.
And he's in the last year of his contract. And if the club is about to release a player, and if they are getting some penny for that player, it's definitely worth it. We have seen Adrian Rabiot's history with the clubs and the behavioral off the track, and when his mother comes into the picture and all the things going around. But I feel there is definitely a decent player in him. I'm not saying he's a good alternative right now, but when you look at what we have, that is Fred and McTominay, he is definitely worth considering, I would say. Not the
Yeah,
best out of
exactly.
the available options, but yeah, we can consider him.
The question is, right, obviously with a lot of disciplinary issues and a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes,
Correct.
is what he's going to be able to produce on the pitch if he does come, is that going to be worth it? That's the question,
Exactly.
especially with the contract situation that you've mentioned.
Right.
So
Right.
so it's literally for the midfield, it's these two, obviously the return of the Milinkovic-Savic rumor as well,
Yeah.
56 million pound or something like that, that's been rumored.
Yeah, I read the quotes quoting that he's worth more than 50 million pounds is what they are claiming. So it's
That's
definitely
massively
another
rumored.
saga what will be going around, because the player has been linked for like around a decade, I can say,
Not even
since it's
not a decade. Let's not be. But it's definitely getting onto the level of the Wesley Snyder and the Nico
yeah, yeah,
Gaitan, those kind of guys.
correct.
So at this point, it's basically the same kind of level, the same kind of progress that's been there. So unless someone like Ornstein or one of the big Italian guys comes through and says it, then we just have to admit that basically it's just another
So
way to
Italian
get
guy, you
some
mean to
kind of
say Di
contract.
Marzio directly? You can say that.
Exactly. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how long we've been linked to this guy, and it's never bloody happened. In the
Yeah,
midfield, obviously these guys are the main concern, but there's also players in attack and defense who are rumored to be shifted. Obviously, the big talking point, apart from Frenkie de Jong in the summer window, has been Cristiano Ronaldo.
yeah, yeah.
The way he's been angling for a move again and again and again. Like obviously, he went back to Madeira. He had that personal situation to resolve, which is great and all, and I absolutely sympathize with that. But when you have that, and when you have Mendes on the other hand outside trying to go to every
Force out
elite
a move
club,
kind of thing.
exactly, he's forcing a move purely for the fact that he wants to play in the Champions League, which I can sympathize with as well. But it's the manner in which you do things, right? Like
Yeah,
you're going to go to clubs like Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona. Like apparently even Laporta said like Barcelona may have been offered him. Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, all these kind of huge clubs. It's like, what bridge is Mendes not willing to burn to get what his client wants? That
yeah, yeah.
was that was the issue. But according to Emmanuel Sainz, a Spanish journalist, apparently that's also not coming to fruition. So latest that we hear is he's going to stay at Manchester United.
Yeah, looks
And
like he will stay, because I don't see any bigger club coming for him. Like you take likes of any club which is not listed under what we can say Mendes hasn't approached the kind of thing. Even
yeah,
Napoli was being approached, so I cannot see him leaving this summer, I guess so,
I think the
unless
big
there is a
shock.
last minute surprise.
Exactly, that's what he said. I think the biggest shock though was that Paris Saint-Germain turned it down,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
before Campos came in, that's the big turning point. Luis Campos coming in, he a scouting god, a recruitment god. So him looking at this guy and knowing that there's a lot already needing to be done in terms of Paris, and turning down Cristiano Ronaldo, it's a big turning point
yeah, yeah.
for what Paris see him being able to do.
True, true. Turning over from like one forward to another forward, talking about the recent rumors of Marcus Rashford getting linked to PSG.
Exactly, that left wing situation, it's getting a bit spicy. That's also another thing that can be put down to, I think, representatives trying to angle
Yep.
for something different here. literally popped up out of nowhere, because we know that Paris have been interested in Marcus Rashford for a while now. I think last summer or even the summer before that he was linked. But again,
Yes, like when Pochettino joined, so that was the time when it started to get linked up, because Pochettino is a very big fan of Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, absolutely. Like obviously you've seen him work in the Premier League with Tottenham and Southampton. So it's no surprise he was linked then. But him being linked now as well is it was a big factor. And the fact that, well, I don't know if it's fact, but huge reports come in that Dwayne Maynard, his brother and representative, he went over to Paris to talk about a move, which I think shocked a lot of us at the time, because I don't think even last year it got to that point.
But like yesterday's press conference was pretty decent enough from Erik ten Hag talking about Marcus
Erik knows
Rashford.
how to deal with these things. Erik knows how to deal with these things. He doesn't bullshit around, and he always tries to make sure that he can give a bit of information, but he wants to keep cards close to his chest. That's the main thing. He has the overall rule of the land. And Erik mentioned his great affection for Marcus Rashford as a player. He also talked about how Cristiano Ronaldo wanting to leave was merely speculation from the media's part. Obviously he believes that Rashford and Ronaldo are showing enough on the training pitches, which is to say basically they're remaining professional about the matter, which is fair enough, which is absolutely fair enough. With Marcus especially, the main thing is it's not just him going out there, but also Mokwillan Wheeler came out the night before mentioning that Rashford went to Erik and said that he does want to stay. So with that and his agent going to Paris being juxtaposed, you could say that there's an angle for a new contract in the play, because Rashford's contract expires in 23 next summer. He does have an option. He does have an option to extend after that, though. So the sensible option for me in that case would be to extend, like give that +1 and then see what happens, right? Because for them to talk about a new contract right now, when Rashford is probably at the lowest point of his football career,
it's not an ideal situation to be there.
It's not a good idea. It's definitely not a good idea. So for him to leave now because of this kind of thing would be a bit of a shock for anyone.
This Rashford saga will definitely go on at least for this summer until he signs another contract. But
probably in January we might know what happens with him. But
he has 1+1 on his contract as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it expires at 23. But after that, he has an option to extend further, which is where obviously with that situation you can understand why Cody Gakpo has been linked as well.
Absolutely.
So, man, what do you think about that one?
I have watched him not much, but fairly decent enough to judge a little bit about that player. So pretty decent player on the left side, but I'm completely not sure why we are linked to Gakpo for around like whatever the price is being quoted, like 45 million or 50 million, whatever he's being quoted on. But considering when up till when the Marcus Rashford saga was not in the picture, that this move didn't make any sense. But if this is the scenario, this move definitely makes a lot of sense. But
exactly, like you'd have to wonder what happens in the January transfer window now. Regarding, well, to be fair, contracts can be extended at any point in time, but they will have to resolve this Netflix situation as soon as possible.
True. And talking about Gakpo, so absolute blistering pace, typical wide forward, like how you want. Took a lot, like talking about the stats, the people claim him to play around the front three any positions, and when RVN has been the coach recently, so he's being expected him to drive him centrally more rather than the left wing. But Erik's requirement about a player like a forward who plays comfortably in the front three positions is what he's looking for. And he won't be the exact mold, but he can be a good considerate option looking at the bench what we have.
Exactly. Also, you might be considered as an alternative to Anthony Santos.
Yeah. And because like we have a lot of talent on the left side right now, like Sancho can play on left, Rashford can play on right, and Alejandro Garnacho is definitely lining up the move in the main line.
Garnacho is definitely going to play like long term down that left hand side, but I just want people to be patient on him because this obviously what's been happening within this past year has been, it's been stratospheric for him. The way
Yeah.
he's been playing in the Youth Cup and, basically bringing that home, him going on preseason and being able to star there. And obviously, like the kind of hype that guy's been getting, like I'm damn excited for him. But I have a real soft spot for anyone in the academy as well.
Yeah,
So
I've seen that.
I'm just hoping that people have a lot of reason for him, not just him, but also Anthony Elanga,
Yeah.
because he's a right wing, he's a left wing, I should say. Sorry, it was during Rangnick's tenure that he was being effectively forced to play on the right hand side because obviously Rashford wasn't in the best of shape. Sancho was moving there as well. Sancho can play on both wings. That's no doubt whatsoever. He's probably the only player who we have
Yeah.
who is
Comfortable, to be honest.
categorically comfortable on both wings.
Yeah.
But you have to really be able to identify which player is suitable for which wing, and we've obviously got a very left-heavy attack. So, still focusing on someone like Cody Gakpo in the off chance that Marcus Rashford leaves the club, when we still need to look at that right-hand side. Apart from Anthony, we've got no one like in the market at the very least.
True. And talking about the last thing up in the transfer market, like recently after the Athletic put down that article about the goalkeeper, which is being looked out for. So I'm not sure what's the exact scenario, because from whatever, when Erik ten Hag was announced as the next manager for Manchester United, it was definitely sure like David De Gea will be kept into a question whether he can adapt to that style, or whether he will change, or whether Erik will go directly for a second goalkeeper. But looking from what Erik gives, like he has been giving opportunity almost every player right now. So
exactly, yeah, it's an absolute clean slate kind of thing for him for now.
yeah,
But obviously, especially with Dean Henderson leaving well before Erik even came through the door, and especially with the interview that he gave to TalkSport earlier. That was mentioned in the goalkeeper article as well. Not just that there was an increased budget, but also that the Henderson interview basically gave Erik a bit of a clearer idea as to who has just gone on loan. So on David De Gea, again, I'm not still convinced that he'll be able to adapt fully. So I think Dean obviously is prioritizing himself at this moment, which is perfectly fair for him. But I think the manner in which he's done it has probably given him, I think it's put him at a disadvantage if he wants to be at Manchester United, to finally dislodge David De Gea, because there's a lot of rumors of politics or shit like that in the club as well. So you really have to see what happens during the World Cup, because that was another ambition for Dean to come in.
Yeah. And talking about ambition, and I do not want to talk about the game week 1 fixture, that is the 2-1 fixture which happened. So we'll keep that for some other day. But I would like to continue this transfer talk on little of couple of players. Like firstly, like who are the current alternatives? What you think about Frenkie de Jong? So one player that comes in my mind, and right now he's linked to West Ham, but I am not sure because Moyes denied the links about Matthews. What
Nunes,
you want to talk about? Nunes,
Matheus Nunes, yeah. So he, again, I haven't seen very much of him as well, but with just like statistical scouting approach, like you go on a site like Smarter Scout, right?
Yeah.
I went on there just for fun a few weeks ago, and it was pretty surprising to me how many statistical rankings Matheus Nunes actually ranked really high in terms of ball progression, in terms of dribbling, carrying, even passing. So he definitely seems an incredibly useful player in that respect, just off going through that. And when Man City played Sporting, I think it was in the Champions League last season, wasn't it? Like they played Sporting last season. Pep Guardiola called him one of the future best players in the world.
Yeah,
in that,
and if
like,
Pep rates him, you have to definitely appreciate the player, because Pep is more about a technical player, looking out always for a technical player, abilities and all stuff around. So definitely, if he is rating him, it's definitely worth considering that he might be something.
Yeah, definitely. So he's a top alternative.
Yeah.
But I think apart from him, I don't think many others have been linked. Probably in the window.
Yeah. Because like when we started the window, like we always were looking out for an holding midfielder. So initially it was Calvin Phillips who was starting to get linked. it was definitely not the move which was going to happen. So it was
Yeah, he
either he's
then
staying
went
at
straight to
Leeds
Man City.
or he'll go into City. Declan Rice was being quoted as more than three-digit figures, that is more than 100
Yeah,
million. So it's
that's
not worth
Moyes.
considering.
That's Moyes and West Ham being business minded. That's
Yeah,
smart from there.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen
Oh yeah,
with
recently
this.
we were linked to this fellow from Betis, right? Guido Rodriguez.
Yeah, but he's not even one of the top players in the squad. Like if you ask me, like he was quoted for around 20 million something. I haven't watched him much. I had heard the Muppeteers podcast where they had mentioned about him, like he's not one of that decent, and the links are just for rumored purpose. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure from where it came around or why it was being quoted. So
Again, like
yeah,
look like one of the things I use to judge whether a player would be kind of suited to what we need is on SofaScore they've got heat maps,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I obviously look for what happens in the I should say the second quarter, like what happens between the penalty box and the halfway line.
yeah.
So with Guido especially, a lot of his heat is concentrated in that area. Obviously, there's a little bit beyond the halfway circle, but a lot of his actions are concentrated. A lot of his possession is concentrated in that area.
True.
So on that basis itself, it looks okay. But then you look at someone like sorry, not Marcus, but like Scott McTominay, who people are very eager to displace right now, and you look at his heat map, and it's basically again, behind the halfway line circulated on the right hand side, which is someone who we kind of need right now. So then you have to look deeper into that player's actual attributes. How comfortable they are on the ball, how comfortable they are in the duel, stuff like that. We all know McTominay is deficient in that respect. And we can talk about these guys all we want, but we need players who are going to be specialists in that area and who are going to be comfortable as well.
Yeah, the
So
market is actually is pretty empty when it looks from the factors what Erik ten Hag is looking from the midfielder or kind of a holding midfielder. Because if you see, our scouting network hasn't been great past years, and when it came to suggesting a left-footed centre back, we were given the choice of Pau Torres, but Erik ten Hag decided to go with Lisandro Martinez, even if the height was less. So he has
and
some
that too
petty,
after Jerry and Timber was turned down
yeah,
as well, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But so the point is like Erik is looking for a very particular skill set from his players, from what position they are playing. He's not currently after Malaysia's addition, he is not looking right now for a right back immediately, but definitely that is on the cards considering Dallo and AWB is in the holding ranks.
Yeah, that's true to be fair, but I think Ethan Laird has just been basically confirmed to go on loan to Queen's
Yeah,
Park Rangers. So they must have obviously guaranteed him a good bit of game time, given that QPR were basically mid-table last season. So with that going through, I don't think anything else is going to happen on the right back front. I was going to
absolutely.
mention that, but I
Yeah,
think probably this might be it for our window. If we can get it's
yeah,
likely we'll get Rabiot unless Veronique decides to screw things over on personal terms. But it's basically panic stations right now. We're what 18 days to go, I'd say. 17
yeah,
days to
yeah.
go in the
Probably
time
17 to 18 days. Yeah,
in the summer window. So we just have to see what happens. Honestly, we can't talk about anything right now, but we have to look at the football that's happening on the pitch right now with what
yeah,
Erik ten Hag has at his disposal, which
yeah.
didn't actually get off to the best start, did it? Now.
Probably not. So I'm also expecting a few of outgoings as well. So not to be
Yeah, yeah.
mentioned much about, but yeah, Pai may go out. He's on the selling list. Even Meshbri's loan might be getting confirmed soon.
Yeah,
So
exactly. That was also coming through
so
as
so
well.
few youngsters going on loan is what I'm expecting, as well as some Deadwood getting sold out kind of thing. So yeah, let's look at it from a positive perspective. Nothing more than
Exactly. We'll circle back to all this in a couple of weeks anyway when the window's done, and we'll
yeah,
check
yeah,
how
yeah.
everything's happened.
Okay, on that note, let's see what happens in the upcoming game weeks. We'll definitely catch up with the game week soon. So for the moment, signing off from here, Voices of the Devils, me and my colleague Roshan Sarvananan. Thank you guys. Bye bye.